Okay, now we're actually live. Yeah, wow. Rain and I just did 10 minutes of the show, and it was just for us because it's been so long since we streamed. I forgot to hit this button that says go live. All right, so we're going to pretend that we're having this conversation for the first time. We've had a big summer hiatus, just like Parliament and Congress, because we needed to take care of business. Rain's up in the Yukon running a business that gets just slaughtered in the summer. And I over here in Ottawa have, through the Freedom Convoy, ended up hooking up with really cool people like Matthew Ehret at Canadian Patriot Press. And we've formed a partnership to create documentary videos based on his and his wife Cynthia Chung's articles on deep Canadian, American, Anglo-American history. You guys might remember Matt. We had him on the channel here, and he's kind of a mind blow secret history guy that tells you the real history of the world and potentially the real future. So couldn't miss an opportunity to work with him. And so there's actually, I think we're at 8 videos. I'm working on the ninth now, and we're going to premiere the latest one tonight and react to it and watch it with you guys. Hopefully, you stick around for that. That is going to be about the bankers' coup in 1933, where many of the richest bankers in the world after the Depression plotted to overthrow Franklin Delano Roosevelt. There are assassination attempts. There's all sorts of stuff in this. Each time I do one of these videos, I learn stuff that I'd never heard of before, and you guys will too. People are here. This is great. Andy's been waiting since before we got out here. Andy, how you doing? They like Canadian girl. Yeah. She's excellent. Very low vibe, but very deep. Kind of like me. War campaign. Yeah, he's always great. He'll be on. So there, I've been contacted, and so is everyone else from Freedom Convoy Times. Allison, my love, Allison. Um, we're contacted by a girl who is creating an interactive map of the Freedom Convoy. So the map comes up, and you can pick any date, or there's like an I feel lucky button, any day, any time, and it'll show you who streamed, exactly from where on the map, exactly what time. Um, Really cool stuff. And this girl is doing this on her own dime, on her own time, self coding it herself. And it's almost ready to launch, and we'll certainly be putting out all the links we can to that as soon as it goes. Also, that's led to making it easier for us to connect with the other streamers that were around that day, including one guy who you see on the shared page here, launching a lawsuit against Trudeau. And we've been contacted, as well as the others, to provide footage that will help their case, proving that the streets were open, that there wasn't giant conflict going on, that the horns weren't honking at all hours of the day. I've even got, some might remember, I was even out once and kept my iPhone mic going while I talked to a Tim Hortons employee, the one Tim Hortons in Ottawa that stayed open for the convoy, and she freely, without knowing she's being recorded, freely tells me there's no problems. The truckers are behaving. Business is fantastic. Yada yada yada. So to think that that could get used to further a lawsuit against Justin Cuba, it's a good feeling. Now we're not going to. We're grown ups. This will probably get squashed at some point, and I'll probably have the RCMP at my door. But it's nice that people are trying. It's nice that Ottawans are banding together. Somebody's trying to do something about this, and it's especially great to just see that you guys are responding to notification that we're live, that you're here. That's great to see. Um, we are going to get back into regularly weekly streaming some content, building up so that we can all be together over the winter, grow the channel a bit more. There's definitely going to be interesting stuff to report with stuff like this lawsuit. One of the former premiers of New Brunswick is also suing the federal government over the Emergencies Act. The guy who helped write Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms, our shockingly young version of the Bill of Rights.
Right.
Q Essence, hey, Smedley Butler, indeed. All right, Q Essence knows some of their history, so yes, it's definitely about General Smedley Butler, amongst other things. Yeah, so thanks for being patient with us, guys. We'll be ramping up a bit more. It's been a productive summer, though, and after the video's done, it can show you where to go to catch up on the others. We're gonna watch the second longer documentary. It's what 20 minutes. We did another 25-minute one for Canadian Patriot Press. That's the YouTube channel, Canadian Patriot Press, or Matt Ehret. I'll put that in the comments here. Matt Ehret on Rumble. Canadian Patriot.
And we might even try to get Matt on the show here at that point.
Oh yeah, for real. Do a few more of these broadcasts, get our viewership up, get you guys used to us being here, and then we'll get Matt on, because Matt's becoming a little bit of a big deal. He's been on InfoWars now, I think 3 times. The first documentary on Rumble is up to 40,000 views now. Just on Rumble.
Nice.
So, I mean, you've got to do some kind of multiplier, right? To think that if that was on YouTube, it could be like 250,000, 500,000, really. I mean, it's Rumble.
Yeah.
40,000 views. So these things are starting to do well.
Is he putting that stuff up?
When the first one was done, he was on a week ban on YouTube. So he was very skittish about putting certain topics up on there. He's just like us. We're going to push this until they cancel us at some point.
Right. Yeah.
It's the same philosophy for any of us having open discussions on the internet. We know that we're going to be gone at some point. At some point, we're going to be on Rumble. So by all means, everybody, we are live on Rumble right now. We do each one on Rumble because we know we're going to have to. Yeah. So let's see. I'm gonna see what
we want to
I'll show you
straight
guys.
to the dog.
Yeah, we'll get that going.
Okay.
Just gonna check out that.
That's good. It's well done. It's interesting. It's a quick 20 minutes.
Yeah, we keep her moving.
Yep.
Let's see. Just gonna find the first one here on Rumble. My God, this guy's uploads videos. Holy crap. I really don't know how he does what he does. He's on 2 shows a day. So's his wife. Writes 2 articles a day. And still time to check out and critique, whatever rough cut of what video I'm working on. Oh, and so here is the channel on Rumble. So that's right there, Matt Ehret. And this is the first documentary, The Reality Behind Conspiracy Theories and Domestic Terrorism. Real deep dive to find out how this tag moniker of conspiracy theorist, how that came to be demonized, who it was, from the university class, legal class that created this whole idea that any kind of talk of, the government not having your best interests at heart, or bankers working with the government, is a dangerous conspiracy theory and needs to be canceled, comes way back from people that were the neoconservatives, Bush people, Clinton people as well.
Mhm.
Scott Cook from Edmonton is coming to Michigan this week. I'm not familiar with Scott Cook. Who dat?
Well, me neither. Yeah, who's that?
I'll ask Brave Search who that is.
Search.
Yeah. Oh, like a musician. Right on. Well, is he a good musician? Cool. So, I think we will head into this. You guys want to watch a movie? You guys want to get some popcorn? Okay, I remember. Yeah. Yeah, all right, Allison. Okay. We're going to share
All right, let's
screen.
up.
All right, there we go. It's called Why Assume There Will Be Another Election. I'll get rid of the banners for this. QSense movie? What kind of movie? We're going to watch Animal Planet. Just kidding. This is a video that I have produced and edited based off of article written by Matthew Ehret and was published on his Substack and Canadian Patriot Review, their website, canadianpatriot.org. So he's got these articles, and it turned out we connected through. I talked about him on stream when we were at the Freedom Convoy. He popped onto my radar because I was following the German-led Corona Investigative Committee from Dr. Rainer Fulmeck, which is an incredible, 2-week-long grand jury style investigation to find if there's grounds to indict people for crimes against humanity for the pandemic. And one of the first guests was Matthew Ehret. He's in Montreal. And he just sits and kind of takes one breath and talks for an hour, completely rewriting some chunks of history for me. And I'm a pretty deep history guy, looking into Anglo-American banking, the continuation of the American Empire. Every second sentence would drop some little thread that I'd want to know more about, and he'd go on to more. And it was interesting in that they were supposed to it was a coronavirus investigation, yet here they were willing to go that deep. Anyway, found him fascinating, reached out to him to see if he'd come on the show, and he did. Even though we were only getting like 12 people on our streams, he still came on, and that led eventually to find out that he's been dying to turn his articles into videos. And I'm a video editor, so off we go. So without any further ado, you guys ready? We're going to start this thing. Please let us know how volume is. You might have to turn things up. We'll see.
Former President Donald Trump announced his intention to run in the 2024 elections, which is a no-brainer considering his support among potential Republican contenders is 49%. compared to a 25% support rate for DeSantis, and no other candidate earning above 7%. It didn't take 2 days before Defense Authorization Act of 2022 was passed by the House of Representatives, giving the president full control over the military and all domestic operations, and which takes direct aim at all domestic extremists in the USA. The senile and politically compromised Biden's days in power are shaky, to say the least. A cause to eliminate the obviously decrepit puppet who is quickly losing any claim to usefulness for his increasing.
Look, maybe I'm kidding myself, but as time goes on, the voter who is just trying to figure out, as I said, how to take care of their family, put 3 squares on the table, stay safe, be able to pay their mortgage or their rent, etc., is becoming much more informed on the motives of some of the political players and some of the and the political parties.
These broad, unconstitutional powers assumed by the executive may easily be used by whatever fascist power is brought into play as Biden's replacement. These events echo the 1933 Reichstag fire that provided a newly elected Hitler regime the excuse it needed to impose tyrannical, enabling acts. With the perfect storm of crises now converging onto our beleaguered world, economic meltdown, energy crisis, food crisis, and general dangers of both civil and global wars, it is worth considering the very real possibility that the days of elections may soon be over. Despite the many talking heads yapping about the 2024 elections as if it were a football game, reality and real history paint a very different picture of bankers' directed military coups, both in the USA and abroad. We will revisit the 1932 to 1934 efforts by the international deep state to impose a fascist dictatorship upon Americans, and even overthrow the elected government of Franklin Roosevelt with a J.P. Morgan-funded military coup d'etat. (1932 to 1934) was a period of history that saw the world torn down into a deep depression, which the people of Europe and America were told by their media could only be solved by the economic miracle solution of a new system of governments known as fascism. This fascist economic solution took hold in Europe with the quick rise of Nazism, Franco and Mussolini's corporatism, as well as what later became Vichy France. In English Canada, the League for Social Reconstruction, founded by 5 Rhodes Scholars, was ready to take power in 1932. And French-speaking Canada was quickly embracing the Nazi-inspired political party of Adrien Arcand. The British governing class, led by the royal family, were fully backing Nazism, and Sir Oswald Mosley's British Union of Fascists was rising faster than ever. All of these movements came in different flavors, but were united under a cold, utilitarian philosophy of government, a devout love for eugenics, the racist science of populist control, an addiction to City of London Wall Street money. In the United States, however, things weren't going as smoothly. Even though the financial elite of Wall Street had pulled the plug on the system 4 years earlier, the population had still not broken sufficiently to accept fascism as the solution which Time magazine told them it was. Instead, the people voted for one of the few anti-fascist presidential candidates available in 1932, when Franklin Roosevelt was elected under the theme of taking the moneylenders out of power and restoring the Constitution. In his March 4, 1933 inaugural address, FDR stated,
"Practices of the unscrupulous money changers stand indicted in the court of public opinion. Faced by failure of credit, they have proposed only the lending of more money. Stripped of the lure of profit by which to induce our people to follow their false leadership, they have resorted to exhortation, pleading tearfully for restored confidence. They have no vision, and when there is no vision, the people perish. Yes, the money changers have fled from their high seats in the temple of our civilization. We may now restore that temple to the ancient truth. The measure of that restoration lies in the extent to which we apply social values, more noble than mere monetary profit.
During FDR's famous 100 days, an all-out war was declared on the economic royalists that had taken over the nation. Audits and investigations were conducted on the banks in the form of the Pecora Commission, and the biggest financial houses, which had spent billions on fascist parties of Europe, were broken up, while speculation was reined in under Glass-Steagall. Meanwhile, a new form of banking was unveiled more in alignment with America's constitutional traditions, in the form of productive credit and long-term public works, which created real jobs and increased the national productive powers of labor. Many people remain totally ignorant that even before his March 4, 1933 inauguration, Franklin Roosevelt narrowly avoided an assassination attempt in Florida, which saw 5 people struck by bullets, and the mayor of Chicago dying of his wounds 3 weeks later. Within days of the mayor's death, the assassin, Giuseppe Zingara, was speedily labeled a lone gunman and executed without any serious investigation into his Freemasonic connections. This, however, was just a precursor for an even greater battle, which Wall Street financiers would launch in order to overthrow the presidency later that year. This effort would only be stopped by the courageous intervention of a patriotic Marine named Smedley Darlington Butler. Born in 1881 to a family of patriotic Quakers, Smedley Butler quickly rose through the ranks of the military, becoming the most decorated military figure of U.S. history, a record he holds to this day with multiple Medals of Honor, an Army Distinguished Service Medal, and Marine Corps Brevet Medal, to name just a few. By the end of the British orchestrated meat grinder known as World War I, the general had become an activist patriot, giving speeches across America in denunciation of the private financiers steering America's war-driven economy. Speaking to veterans in August 1933, the general said,
I have spent 33 years being a high-class muscle man for big business, for Wall Street and the bankers. In short, I was a racketeer for capitalism. I helped purify Nicaragua for the international banking house of Brown Brothers in 1909 to 1912. I helped make Mexico, and especially Tampico, safe for American oil interests in 1916. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the national city bank boys to collect revenue in. I helped rape half a dozen Central American republics for the benefit of Wall Street. In China, I helped see to it that Standard Oil went its way unmolested. I had a swell racket. I was rewarded with honors, medals, and promotions. I might have given Al Capone a few hints. The best he could do was operate a racket in 3 cities. The Marines operated on 3 continents.
In spite of his outspoken criticism of crony capitalism, Wall Street's elite simply presumed all men had their price, and Butler was probably just indignant because he was never given a big enough piece of the pie. These financiers needed someone like Butler to channel the rage of the striking veterans of World War I across America, who had been fighting for the bonus pay promised them years earlier, but which didn't exist due to the 1929 collapse. A force of hundreds of thousands of disgruntled seasoned soldiers was exactly what was needed to overthrow Roosevelt. But leadership was sorely lacking, and General Butler was their man for the job. He was a war hero who was seen as honest and loved by the veterans. He was perfect. Before continuing, it would benefit us all to recall that the American Legion was a very different beast from the benign organization of old veterans it is known as today. As it was originally founded with Wall Street capital in 1919 and was run early on as a fascist machine, Legion Commander Alvin Owsley made this explicit in 1921 when he said,
"If need be, the American Legion is ready to protect the institutions of this country and its ideals, in the same way as the fascists have treated the destructive forces threatening Italy. Don't forget that the fascists are, for today's Italy, what the American Legion is for the United States."
In reply to whether this meant taking over the government, he said,
"Exactly that."
Under the guiding hand of J.P. Morgan's Grayson Prevost Murphy, two representatives of the American Legion, Commander Bill Doyle and bond salesman Gerald McGuire, approached Butler in July 1933 for the job of rallying the Legion's veterans and began dropping hints of a larger coup plot. Butler became suspicious, but continued playing along with the plan to see how far this went up the ladder of power. Over the course of the next several months, Butler discovered that America's financial elite centered around John Pierpont Morgan Jr., the Harrimans, the Mellons, Warburgs, Rockefellers, and DuPonts, all at the heart of the plot. These men used their agents such as Gerald McGuire, the Morgan-affiliated bond salesman, Democratic Party controllers John W. Davis and Thomas Lamont, both occupying directorships in the House of Morgan, Robert Sterling Clark, heir to the Singer sewing machine fortune, Grayson Prevost Murphy, and Harriman family investment banker Prescott Bush. All of these characters have become well-known investors in European fascism, owned the biggest media platforms including Fortune and Time magazine, both of which promoted Mussolini extensively for years and controlled the levers of industry. Luckily, the 1932 to 1934 Pecora Commission exposed these forces publicly as the architects of the Great Depression, making their ability to acquire popular support and sympathy more than a little difficult. Outlining his committee's findings, Pecora had written publicly,
"Undoubtedly, this small group of highly placed financiers controlling the very springs of economic activity holds more real power than any similar group in the USA."
When the time was right, Butler blew the whistle by approaching the McCormack-Dickstein Committee, which began an investigation on November 20th, 1934. Unlike the Committee on Un-American Activities, which made its reputation destroying patriotic lives and the communist witch hunt of McCarthyism, this earlier version was aligned to FDR and dedicated solely to identifying Nazi activity in America. At first skeptical of the general's claims, the committee soon substantiated everything over the course of a month-long investigation and made their findings public to FDR and Congress on December 29, 1934. An invaluable part of the hearings were the testimonies of journalist Paul Comley French, whom Butler recruited to act as the general's intermediary with the bankers. Butler told the committee that McGuire stated it
"Wouldn't take any constitutional change to authorize another cabinet official, somebody to take over the details of the office, to take them off the president's shoulders.
and that
We do with him what Mussolini did to the King of Italy."
when French asked McGuire how the coup would help solve unemployment, McGuire responded,
"We need a fascist government to save the nation from the communists. It was the plan that Hitler had used in putting all of the unemployed in labor camps or barracks, and forced labor. That would solve it overnight."
Although the full transcripts were not made public, Butler did get the message to the population by giving his story to as many journalists as possible and recorded a message to the people in 1935, which should be listened to in full.
The plan as outlined to me was to form an organization of veterans, to use as a bluff or as a club at least, to intimidate the government and break down our democratic institutions. The upshot of the whole thing was that I was supposed to lead an organization of 500,000 men, which would be able to take over the functions of government. I talked with an investigator for this committee who came to me with a subpoena on Sunday, November 18th. He told me they had unearthed evidence linking my name with several such veteran organizations. As it then seemed to me to be getting serious, I felt it was my duty to tell all I knew of such activities to this committee. My main interest in all this is to preserve our democratic institutions. I want to retain the right to vote, the right to speak freely, and the right to write. If we maintain these basic principles, our democracy is safe. No dictatorship can exist with suffrage, freedom of speech, and press.
This exposure, alongside the Pecora Commission findings and earlier failed assassination attempt, gave FDR the ammunition he needed to force America's deep state into submission, at least for a while. FDR's fight to stop a central banker's dictatorship started from the earliest days of his presidency to his dying breath on April 12, 1945. Incredibly, after the sanitized and redacted 1934 report was published, the committee was disbanded, to be reformed later under a fascist mandate, and thousands of pages of transcripts were buried for years, only officially made public in the 21st century, the contents of which can be found online. The coup plotters lost no time forming a new organization on August 22, 1934, called the American Liberty League, which spent the next decade sabotaging FDR's New Deal. This group made every effort to promote an American alliance with Axis powers until 1941's Pearl Harbor attack, widely financed eugenics, and, after FDR died, acted as the driving force behind the McCarthyite police state in America during the Cold War. Without understanding this fascist deep state operation within the heart of the American establishment, it would be impossible to make sense of the Manichean Cold War dualism that destroyed FDR's vision for a world of cooperating sovereign nation states. The American Liberty League also gave birth to such think tanks as the American Enterprise Institute, Heritage Foundation, and Cato Institute, which incrementally made Austrian school economics a part of the American right. Anyone wishing to understand what created the Frankenstein monster called neoconservatism during the last 60 years would not get very far without understanding the role of the American Liberty League and its hellspawn.
My God, Dick Cheney. Like, we're used to Carl Schwab being the classic kind of Bond villain now, but my God, that man, it's like he's designed. Like, look at that. Like, you design a bad guy in a lab. That's what he looks like. All right, back to it.
The American Liberty League and its hellspawn. Today, a new systemic meltdown of a $1.5 quadrillion derivatives bubble has similarities to the 1929 crash and other similarities to the 1923 hyperinflation of the Weimar Republic. While the specific trigger for the oncoming systemic blowout is not fully determined, what is certain is that the danger of a new fascist coup and world war are as real as ever before. With the restoration of an FBI dictatorship in the USA, not seen since the darkest days of the Cold War, and with a criminal raid on Donald USA, not seen since the darkest.
That there is McCarthy, and this younger guy next to him is Cohn, Trump's attack lawyer. Guy kind of taught him everything he knows about business. Very interesting, eh?
Days of the Cold War, and with a criminal raid on Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home, it should be increasingly clear that the opportunities to avoid a slide into fascism are disappearing faster than the likelihood that a 2024 Democratic election will actually take place. It is now up to the American people to ensure that the lessons of history are learned quickly, and that the American experiment is not permitted to fail.
All right, and there you go. So I get doxxed at the end there. I've decided I might as well get my name in there.
Good
A
job.
lucky man. Thank you. We were built for this, man. You know, to go out, find like-minded people, and then I've been building up this toolkit without kind of knowing it. Anybody know the book, John Irving book, A Prayer for Owen Meany? It's a book about this weird kind of crippled kid who talks funny, can't do much, but he's obsessed with basketball. And he keeps doing the same maneuver on the basketball court, practicing it over and over and over again. And spoiler alert, in case you wanted to read Prayer for Owen Meany, at the very end, it turns out that the physical exercise that he was doing on that basketball court over and over all his life is exactly what he needs to save some people at the end of the book from a grenade. And that's how I feel. I've been slowly learning how to edit video, and my whole life has been about getting better at music and audio and entertainment business, to eventually be here ready for a moment when we're on the brink of fascism taking over, that I can at least get people like Matthew Ehret, whose voice needs to be heard. I mean, how mind-boggling is it that like there are front page headlines chronicling how there was a full-on assassination attempt of FDR. They got the guy who did it, and it's the first time I've ever heard the guy's name. Is reading Matthew
Yeah.
Ehret's article. Like, what the fuck is going on? That should be just normal knowledge, just part of history class. Whether you think it's a banker's conspiracy or whatever is beside the point. Everyone should know that, especially American kids should all know that some nut job like tried to kill FDR. FDR is a hero. But in the secret
Yeah.
history kind of world, the clash of the two Americas that Matthew Ehret always talks about, he's not a hero. He is the enemy of the deep state, which is weird. I spent my kind of Alex Jones years learning that he was secretly blue blood royalty and all this stuff. But it turns out maybe FDR is much more JFK than Bill Clinton. You know, I thought of him as kind of a fancy Bill Clinton, maybe leading up to this, but maybe in fact he was more of a JFK, certainly blue-blooded rich boy, but with some actual ideals that he was chasing, similar to Trump, maybe. Yeah, thanks, Allison. Thank you. I didn't even know if I would sound good as a voiceover. I just had seen that my god, as I was just telling Rain, my god is the Frontline guy from like the 80s and 90s. You ever watch Frontline on PBS? Holy shit. So I tried to get like low and gravelly like him. And then the other thing was reading articles about the guy that played HAL 9000 in 2001 A Space Odyssey, where he would like when they were recording him, he would take an hour beforehand lying on a psychiatrist's couch to get into almost a trance state. And I took good advice from that. The one thing you realize when you're doing this is when you're speaking to people in real life, you come in hard. You come in like, hi, hey, I got an idea, and now I'm going to now tell you about my idea. You start to learn this stuff about your voice. And I'm okay with it. I'm happy with it. I didn't think I'd end up being a voiceover guy.
Sounds great.
Thank you. And so that is the second long form documentary. Don't forget, right? So if you head to Canadian Patriot Press, I'll get a share going here. Show you guys kind of the landscape of what's been happening. See, like we've been gone, but we've been busy. So yeah, maybe I'll stop. I won't share that way. I'll share the whole app because we don't need the audio. Let's see if this works. No, it doesn't work. I think I'd be better at this tech stuff. Share screen, Brave tab, yeah. So there is Canadian Patriot Press. Everyone, please give a follow. For total ground swell people's movement, started from scratch kind of thing. He's doing all right. 8,000 subscribers is not bad, but when you look at the numbers on Rumble's much bigger. So by all means, find them on Rumble. Let's see if does that switch when I switch tabs. No, it only shares the one tab. Yeah, and then you can see this is what we just watched over here. And then there's an entire series of very short documentaries. Here I'm hovering over the one here. So these are anything from 3 to 5 minute documentaries that cover the actual history of America, the War of Independence, the build up to that, how Canada features in that. And there are 6 of those. There's 6 3-minute documentaries there that are just as mind-blowing as this documentary was, where you're like, what? Quebec was offered to be part of America and came damn close to getting to it, but the Catholic Church and London banking system intervened to create the Quebec Act, preventing Quebec from joining. The books lead. These are all based off of his books. The voiceover comes from the audiobook narration. A very talented Ottawa man, ironically named Trudeau, that does the voiceover for that. So that's a whole little series. There's 6 to watch. I'm going to continue to go through the book. It ends up absolutely mind-boggling, where you're seeing a world where, sure, England lost the ground war for the War of Independence, but then just shifted basically everything to Canada. And the entire Dominion of Canada exists in some senses to fight America, to de-republicanize America. We're like a walking extension of the city of London and their banks. It's really wild. So there's that too. And the first long form documentary is going to take a sec. Look at this guy's output. It's just astounding. He is interviewed a couple times a day, a couple articles a day on his Substack. Man, it's hard to find. Search the channel and conspiracies. Conspiracies just brings up every video on his channel. There's a video we did, as I mentioned earlier, about establishing why it's the correct way to look at history, to look at conspiracies, not the nut job way. And let's see, going to share screen. Let me do. I'll do the entire screen. Watch out for the infinite rainbow there. So we've had as well amazing response to this. You can see here the Texas Boys - Our Family Story. This is a family of good old Christians that moved from Tennessee to Texas because they think the shit is hitting the fan. and they have the video we just watched.
Fascist parties of Europe.
They have a
So what was
reaction
FDR
video up
supposed
for
to
it.
do? Like, what was his goal?
Well, he was trying to put the banks in check.
Okay.
And, we can see that these bankers, these are the same, all those guys that were mentioned. I highly encourage you to.
So this is great. That it's like, it's kind of like stereotypical Christian family. Dad's got the beard. It's probably 3 wives in a shed out back. He mostly talks, and the nice son just nods and agrees with him. But 20,000 views. They watch the entire video, react to it, and comment on it, as well as this channel, which is Grand Theft World. Excellent podcast, excellent channel. Seek them out, give them a like. Deep divers tend to go through books live on their channel to back up their arguments. Again, they show the whole video. They watch the whole video at the end of the broadcast. So we're getting out there. Things are happening. Stop that share of insanity. And yeah, so we've been working, and we will continue to work. Seeing how we got. If you guys liked this as a presentation, then this is something we can do on a regular, because we do have 8 more videos that we can watch. Bingo, learning to speak about how to frame and convey liberty to the people is nothing but an ideal after all. Yeah, and the best way to get an idea across, especially nowadays, is moving pictures.
Yeah.
Keep sharing what made USA so great. Yeah, the liberal media and the modern liberal movements, they've completely forgotten what made America so great. They think that they can censor their way to preventing America from falling. They think they have to stop free speech in order. That's the biggest threat, which, Benjamin Franklin would have just laughed at them.
You have to just leave things alone the way it used to be. Well, ish. Things are way better.
Yeah. Things have never been perfect, but America is as close to perfect as any nation has ever gotten. And it's all just like right on the edge of being shut down. Just another lone gunman. Yeah,
exactly.
About it.
What else we got going on in the news? We had an election.
Up here in Canada, we had fun times. Is all Americans in the group tonight? We got any Canucks in the stream? Big news up here in that for the American viewers, our 2-party system is like, 4 parties, 5, depending on the year. But it's the everybody else, like Green Party, People's Party of Canada, even the long-running third party, New Democratic Party, the NDP. They never come close to achieving much of anything. The NDP right now has achieved enough seats in Parliament so that they plus Trudeau's minority seats equal a majority. And that's how Trudeau is pushing through all of his fascist stuff, because the even more left wing, if you can imagine it, even more left wing than Trudeau are the New Democratic Party, and they're in cahoots. And it guarantees that he doesn't have to call election till as late as 2025. Stay in power. All he has to do is make a socialist dental program, and he gets to stay in power even with a minority government and bang through all of his laws. During all this time of Trudeau, we've had the weakest ass, pussiest ass leaders of the Conservative Party, who have traditionally, right before Trudeau, was a conservative government, a couple of majority conservative governments. A Conservative Party is immensely popular in Canada, never really has dropped much in Canada. But much how you guys have the Electoral College, we have representative voting as well, which is a good thing. But in Canada, it ends up so stacked for Ontario and Quebec, and the metropolitan vote has so much higher vote that here the Conservatives won the popular vote 2 times in a row. Yet we end up with Trudeau in government. Even with weak leaders, we had the party. They had lost their way and thought that they had to become more liberal. So you had the conservative leaders going out, trying to get to the front of the line at the gay pride parades and all this stuff, and trying to go middle of the road with it. While inexplicably, while we're watching in the States and in England, the Conservative Party is going right, was getting them votes and getting them governments, but we were going weak here in Canada. So on Saturday, they had their election because pretty much the moment the Freedom Convoy happened, the Conservative Party, first off, Pierre Poilievre, who was the shadow finance minister at the time, made a comment that he supported the truckers' right to vote, to protest, and this immediately shot him to the top of the charts as far as conservative Canada went, because guess what? Freedom Convoy was insanely popular, and within 2 days, the Conservative Party kicked out their leader. And they were running with an interim leader, and on Saturday they made the vote official, and Pierre Poilievre, the guy who stood up for the truckers, not only signed up more people for the Conservative Party during his campaign to become the leader, got more votes than any leader of the Conservative Party in the history of Canada. And meanwhile, you're watching all the liberal media, the Canadian Broadcast Company, Canadian television. Here, they're starting to practice. They're ramping up their rhetoric that he's Trump, that he's racist, that he's a fascist. And despite that, the biggest win for any conservative, the next guy in line won 2 ridings. Out of the hundreds in Canada, he won 2 ridings. So this is an absolute statement from Canadians that we want to get back to the right wing. We want the Conservative Party to be right wing. We want them to be conservative, actually small c conservative. He's a really nice wiener. He's kind of a wiener of a guy, eh, Rain?
Well,
like the most Canadian.
Well, he looks like he could be like a math,
Yeah.
I was actually talking to. I was one of my clients up here is a member of the Conservative Party, and he was actually at the convention, sitting right behind Candice Bergen. And I asked him today if he had met Pierre, and he said, yeah, he's met him a couple of times. Really nice guy, down to earth, but he said he's smart as hell. Like, he's one of the smartest guys he's ever met.
That's the picture that I get, and he's got a level of fight in him, I think. But he, unlike any kind of Trump character or Bolsonaro or anything, this guy's not going to go out and misspeak. He's not going to pull any of this. There were good people on both sides kind of thing. It's way smarter, way more diplomatic. Well, I'll share. I got it queued up here from today when it's his first press conference as the new leader, conservative leader. There we go.
Was that just today?
Just 7 hours ago. It might be quite quiet.
I saw this one.
I remember having to turn my shit up, but watch how the press is already on this guy.
Être revenu aujourd'hui. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate your presence.
They're openly heckling him. He's just said hi.
Wow.
I'm the new leader, and there's someone in the press gallery that won't shut up. They're trying to. You can't hear quite what they're saying. Probably accusations of racism or something. But this is wild to watch.
Today. Before I begin, let me just say that
Allison, everybody likes a good
being
wiener.
heckled here by. Thank you very much for your congratulations. Thank you very much for your questions. I'm going to begin my remarks now. Justin Trudeau is out of touch.
What kind of flag do you prefer, Q Essence?
The cost of government is driving up the cost of living. $500 billion of inflationary deficits have bid up the cost of the goods we buy and the interest that Canadians pay. And that is why.
This guy just still yelling at him.
40-year highs in inflation today.
Oh,
Inflationary deficits are also the inflationary taxes that are driving up the cost for workers and businesses to produce the goods that we buy. On top of that, Trudeau proposes yet more spending to bid up costs even further. The more he spends, the more things cost. It is just inflation. And here we are today with 40-year highs in inflation, where Canadians are spending more just to feed themselves, to heat their homes, and to buy a home in the very first place. The reason that, So I mean, we have.
I heard him say, I held my hand up. I mean, he hasn't let the guy say like, hi, I'm Pierre Poilievre. And what's going to be funny is watching American presidents pronounce Poilievre.
yeah.
Poilievre.
Well, this is just so disrespectful. This is
I've never seen anything
on,
like
an
this.
American level.
I've never seen anything like this.
Like, just let the guy.
You would see.
Yeah, like, since when do they not let a give their opening remarks or whatever, or a little speech or whatever his introduction or whatever he's doing here? Like, I mean, the media is supposed to wait till that's over and then ask questions. That's the way it works. That's called, just civility or whatever.
It's just, well, everybody knows the drill. It's a press conference. The guy's going to come out.
Yeah.
He's going to say hi. He's going to be campaigny and TV-ish, and he's going to have a statement, after which, as they've been told, he's going to take questions. And this guy is like, he's going to be what was that guy? Jim Acosta in the fucking States, who's like putting on a show for the fucking liberals every time Trump or would show up, or the spokesperson, and he just fucking attack dogged them. Completely insane. This guy probably has dreams of being the Canadian Jim Acosta.
Right.
He's going to be the Jeff McCosta for Canada. All right, Q Essence is apparently
let's
really into flags. Or like, are the flags polyester?
He thinks he's on a sound.
Yeah. Where is that? These are total crap. I suspect soundstage looks fake. That's Parliament. That's a briefing room in Parliament. You can tell by the
that's our budget right now. We can't afford real flags.
Probably. Well, they're made in China.
Yeah.
Okay, so it goes on.
We have basically a liberal heckler who snuck in here today to, right. Are you going to let me make my statement?
From the guy who actually reported first on the Prime Minister breaking the law.
Yeah. Are you going to let me make my statement?
Ask a question. Say,
I've actually never seen you heckling the Prime Minister.
Yeah, no shit.
Heckling the Prime Minister. Look, bottom line is this. Yes, I'll taking two questions at the very end. Thank you very much. So I'm going to start my statement again.
He's got to start all over. Fucking asshole.
From the liberal heckling gathering here, and
yeah, understood. Q. No sweat. You're really like into the flag and the setting. It's cool. It's good, man. Then we're being polite. Fuck these shills. Well, you see here, I think what we're seeing right now is probably what the Poilievre government would look like as they're attacking him. It's going to be interesting to see the next election when they get into debates, how he handles. You know that they're going to go. We've seen Trudeau. We know what happened at the Freedom Convoy. He did his deplorables thing. the people that question the vaccine, they're racist, they're misogynistic, all this stuff, and he's going to do all of that to Polyev. But this is an example of how he at least handles a little bit of diversity.
So I'm going to start my statement again, and hopefully this time without interruption from the Liberal heckling gathering here, and we'll speak directly to Canadians so that they can hear what the new leader of the opposition has to say. I'll begin again. The cost of government is...
I think that's maybe a good example, kind of like less 6'4" tough guy than DeSantis, less Italian than DeSantis, but I think DeSantis is a really good comparison to what is happening with Polyev in Canada. Yeah. If DeSantis like spent a week in a sauna and didn't drink water and was nearsighted, yeah, he kind of looks like DeSantis. Yeah, it's a very similar thing, and he's even more diplomatic and easy to listen to than DeSantis. So I think that's super important. You see, with Trump was such a double-barreled, loaded shotgun of personality that, like, he's just so easy to hate. I've had so many discussions with liberals who are just lost in Trump derangement syndrome that you try to break it down. What did Trump do that you hate so much? What law did he sign that you hate so much? What can you point to that hurt America that Trump did? And it always just boils down to they don't like him. With Polyev, look at him. It's he couldn't be more night and day different from Donald Trump. It's going to be hard to dislike this guy.
Driving up the cost of living. The more Trudeau spends, the more things cost. $500 billion of inflationary deficits.
Okay, so that's it. So I mean, just like politely, but sternly, finally gets the guy to shut up. And I think that is going to be indicative of how this guy's going to work. And while I and Rain are full-blooded People's Party of Canada and Max Bernier supporters, who is he was the guy who almost won 3 leaders ago. He almost won the Conservative Party membership, but they jobbed him out of it, and he lost it by just like a single percentage point. And he was full on. The guy's full on. He got arrested for not wearing mask. His court case is coming up right now, actually. So we're full supporters of that guy, but it's going to be 10 years before they even get a few members of parliament. In the meantime, I'm kind of on with Polyev. He's all right. Goofy Roofy. Hey, Goofy Roofy. Good to see you. Pull My Lever was a WEF member and just got his info scrubbed. He also said Jack about COVID till he saw. Yeah, right. Don't get us wrong here, right? Like, no one's thinking that someone from the the Conservative Party of Canada is going to swoop down and save us and be some kind of angel of libertarian right wingism. But this is a lot better. This guy actually seems like he's going to be at least a thorn in Trudeau's side, and would at least not push through mandates and lockdowns again in the future. Not necessarily because the guy is 100% ideologically aligned with us, but it can be as shallow as he's just seen the results. This guy's success comes from one apparently off-the-cuff statement he made to the news when he was walking to Parliament when the Freedom Convoy came here. It's the reason most Canadians are aware that he exists, even though he's been at this for like 15 years, Rain?
25, I think.
25 years, right? This guy's entire career has been through the Reform Party and Conservative Party of Canada. He's only been a public servant, which some people use against him, but I think might be a positive. He hasn't been a captain of industry. He doesn't have weird ties to capitalism and stuff like that. So Yeah, the WEF thing he's been asked about directly. He at least he says he doesn't even know why he's on the website. His best guess is that the WEF loves to do this, and say if you write a guest article for the Globe and Mail, just posting that article through the Globe and Mail's membership with the WEF will then post to their website, and then they'll claim that you're a member of the WEF after that. There's an interview clip, you can find it on YouTube, where a journalist did get him and asked him about it. But at the end of the day, he could completely be some kind of plant. Who knows? I mean, right? Like we're not putting our eggs in his basket. It's just like we say, we're just biding our time until the People's Party becomes an actual larger party in Canada. But in the meantime, I mean, the kind of half liberal losers that this entire time Trudeau has been in power has been wasted because the opposition was trying to be more liberal, when at least you could have had a loud, populist, conservative opposition in Parliament making arguments against Trudeau, who's turned out to be one of the most dangerous people in this entire lockdown scheme. I think Canada was set from the start for us to be like New Zealand, to try the most radical policies, and it was planned from the beginning. And over here, if we had had an attack dog kind of guy like Polyev in the opposition, perhaps it wouldn't have gotten to the point where at least it could have slowed the flow a bit. Someone talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas
that's all I'm hoping for.
Yeah, just an actual literal opposition.
Yeah. Let's just slow things down and maybe not go as heavy-handed with potential mandates in the future or lockdowns. And well, hopefully, I mean, if he holds true to his word, if he does get elected, that's one of the first things he's going to eliminate is whatever mandates may be left by that point. They're done.
Well, his acceptance.
That'd be good. I wouldn't mind going back to Alaska and fishing again. Be nice.
Well, shit, yeah. Like I was just up in Yukon with Rain, and our normal activity is fart around for a few days, get drunk a couple times, and then head to Alaska, go to Haines, Alaska, where the real salmon fishing is, and I don't know if any of you guys have been up there. America just sent someone up when they were doing the Alaska purchase to walk the line where to the left everything's stunningly gorgeous, and then to the right everything's kind of like tundra. And they just took everything that's stunningly gorgeous. The minute you go into Alaska is just, oh my God. Like Yukon's beautiful in its own wonderful way, but Alaska is just like British Columbia with Norwegian fjords. It's just, what the fuck am I even looking at? Plus all the access to the sea. The best thing you Americans ever did probably was buying Alaska. Yeah, Allison, exactly. But I mean, we can go on all day about controlled opposition and everybody's a shill in the government and stuff, but anything is better than Trudeau. And my God, the alternative waiting in the wings is Jagmeet Singh, the leader of New Democratic Party. If Canada goes further left, if that guy got in, I mean, Rain, what do? We could go to Costa Rica or something. Canada is dead if that guy gets in. So at least just get somebody in there that's saying the right things. They might not do everything they say. Well, no one ever does everything they say, but at least they're saying the right things. And in his acceptance speech, Pierre Poilievre was like, all mandates ended now. He called out woke a couple times, right? So, the future's brighter with him in than it is with Trudeau. I mean, hilariously today, Trudeau called out the Conservatives for wanting to silence Canadians, for not allowing free speech. Hilarious. Q, what's the obsession with the flag? It just muted you when you tried to talk there,
It's
Kev.
Q stuff.
Yeah, yeah, you're into the. I'm going to think about flags a lot more. Matt Getz, I know. Matt Getz, probably a very good comparison to Pierre Poilievre. Not quite as swaggery as DeSantis. Rain, it keeps like kind of muting when you talk. I can see you talking, but it like cuts off. So I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to go silent, and you say what you were going to say.
Yeah, it's probably just we got the lag going on.
Yeah.
But no, just a goofy roofie there, like he's saying PPC would be ideal. I agree he's better, blah, blah, but worry once he's in power, he may pull a Krejci scrapping the GST. Yeah, and that can happen. I mean, I worry about that too. I mean, Poilievre's, at the end of the day, he's said a lot of cool stuff, but, you know, is he actually going to uphold that if he wins? I mean, who knows? But the way I'm looking at it right now, we have to at least hold out some hope that will be the case. I mean, it may not be the case, but if we just give up now, you know, because at the end of the day, Bernier's not going to win the next election again. There's no way. I mean,
They're a decade out.
And I think part of the reason they may be more than a decade out now, because at the end of the day, Poilievre stole half his platform, which was probably smart on his part, but he did.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I don't know what Bernier is going to have to do now to try to gain more support. I mean, he might have to go, you know, even crazier right wing. You know, not that he's crazy now; he's pretty normal. He's more libertarian than anything. Bernier's platform, but I don't know. But with Poilievre, yeah, I mean, let's wait and see. I mean, go ahead.
Wow, the delay is insane. I say yeah to something you said, and then it cuts you off like a minute later. So yeah, what'll happen is probably what's happened in Canada over and over and over and over. For the American listeners, we've been through the Conservative Party here has changed officially its name to incorporate upstart grassroots movements that started elsewhere, usually Alberta, Saskatchewan, that kind of thing. The middle countries, the middle counties in Canada, because grassroots movements get so angry because the corporate Conservative Party starts acting more like the Liberals, and eventually grassroots movements start like the Reform Party, where the Prime Minister previous to Trudeau and really each of the leaders has kind of found their roots in. They've merged, and even though Maxime Bernier and the People's Party of Canada say we probably won't merge, they probably will have to at some point, once the Conservative Party has to admit that the People's Party is more popular than them. We'll see. We'll see. So are Q, is your thing that the flags, polyester flags, are giving away that this is under maritime law? Is this like the personal sovereignty thing and the maritime law applying in governments? Is that where you're going with this? I've gone down that road, so I'm interested in that. They did the same with the Maine-New Brunswick border. The U.S. got the British guys drunk and moved the border a couple hundred miles in their favor. You think Maine is less pretty than New Brunswick? Who won that? The British guys drunk and moved the border a couple hundred miles.
Maine's more.
I would assume so. New Brunswick is kind of, I don't know, not known for being stunning.
Yeah, Maine is though.
Well, Mark, hey Mark, welcome to the channel. Where was Pierre Poilievre during the convoy? Not much support in Parliament, all acting. Certainly, maybe, right? Like as we're saying, no one's joining the religion of Pierre Poilievre here. Just my point is where he was during the convoy was on like the second day or something like that, third day. He was just stopped by the press walking into Parliament and asked what he thought of it. And he gave this excellent little diatribe where he thought that they had the right and people are fed up, and excellently worded. I should find it. Let's watch it. And this is why he just won the biggest conservative leadership battle in Canadian history, is because of this speech. The guy's been around forever, and I even try to keep up with our politics, and I'd never heard of the guy until that day. Interview.
To be fair, as well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. To be fair, as well. I mean, Poilievre wasn't the leader of the party then, so I mean, he only had so much airtime in Parliament. Number one, and number two, I mean, the Conservatives pretty much en masse did vote against the Emergency Measures Act, and other part of the mandates, right? So,
but they'd already had
they can only do so much.
They had already had an internal coup d'état by then. You know, they had kicked out their leader by then. But
Candace Bergen was the interim leader. Poilievre wasn't, right? So I mean, he didn't.
No, well, that's it.
It wasn't,
like I said, he was the shadow finance minister. His job was to critique liberal financial policies. So he came out of nowhere, really. I'm going to share the interview here so you guys can see this. And this, in my opinion, this is why he won the Conservative Party leadership.
Well, you know what I think is interesting is that when there's a left-wing protest on Parliament Hill, we don't see the Liberal media going through every single name of the people who attend to try and find one person that they can disparage the whole group with. We don't see CBC, for example, has been accused by its own employees of systemic racism. And yet we don't see the media here generalize that everyone who works at the CBC is a racist. Whenever you have 5,000 or 10,000 people who are part of any group, you're bound to have a number who have or say unacceptable things. And they should be individually responsible for the things they say and do. But that doesn't mean we disparage the thousands of hardworking, law-abiding, and peaceful truckers who, quite frankly, have kept all of you alive the last 2 years by filling your grocery shelves with the food that you eat and filling your homes with the products that you rely upon. So I think that it is possible to hold individually responsible anyone who says or does anything unacceptable, while showing support for the hardworking, law-abiding, peace-loving truckers who are fighting for their freedom and their livelihoods, and on whom we have depended for our very existence over the last 2 years. Pardon? Mais je vous donne un exemple. Vous autres, dans les médias, m'ont critiqué. Et pendant la conférence, non, la personne individuelle, ou simple des personnes dans, because I don't know what exactly. I'll be sorry avec les camionneurs.
Goddamn French.
I'll be supporting the truckers. I don't know exactly where, because I don't know exactly how this whole thing is going to be organized. I'm not in touch with any of the organizers, but I'm going to look for an opportunity to bring coffee and support and friendship for peaceful, law-abiding, hardworking, freedom-loving truckers who have kept my family and yours alive throughout this pandemic by putting food on our table. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just encourage the media not to forget about British Columbia. We still got a lot going on with the flooding.
Okay, so it veers off. But that moment, that is the moment he became the leader of the party. Within 48 hours of that moment, the Conservative Party in Parliament held a no confidence vote and fired the leader of the party. You also had, within 48 hours of that comment, you had Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba provinces in Canada announce that they were setting the end date for all mandates. So everyone that despairs and thinks the Freedom Convoy, just got totally wiped out, it was all for nothing. The most gains happened in the first weekend. Completely changed the course of politics. The worldwide reaction to it. You had the UK announce complete stoppage to all mandates of any kind, all vaccination mandates within 5 days of the Freedom Convoy starting. And you had people rolling in New Zealand and Europe, all over the world, with Canadian flags on their trucks, and even the recent protests in Europe against all the nitrogen insanity that they're doing over there, the fertilizer insanity. The Dutch farmers, they put Canadian flags on their trucks when they do this. So the Freedom Convoy was a tremendous success, and it's that one single interview that created this guy, gave him the leadership of the official opposition party in Canada, in my opinion.
Definitely up there. Yep.
I don't, maybe he was a front runner for the leadership, kind of in the background. There was probably a lot going on. There's probably a reason that he felt free to express himself that freely. There were probably backroom machinations going on that we can only imagine within the party. And there were probably people saying like, yo, we got enough votes, we can vote out the leaders. So, start getting your face on TV and start saying some shit. Now, equally, there are clips of him. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, as we've talked before, and I pointed out to you, like, I mean, I've known who Polyev was for easily the past 3-4 years, if not longer.
Yeah,
just
you knew
based
about
on
him.
A lot of the YouTube clips that I would see of him just grilling Trudeau. Like, I'd never seen anything like that, and I love this guy right from the get-go. Now, that being said, yeah, maybe I don't trust him 100%, but I at least loved his attitude as a politician. And I would say the same thing to Mark there on the chats. I don't know if you can go back a few years. I don't know if you've seen any of those videos where he's just interviewing. Well, it's not really an interview. It's just a session or something with Trudeau where he's grilling him over something, whether it was SNC Lavalin or, Raybould or whatever. And I mean, he's relentless. He's an attack dog. And I mean,
he is.
Immediately I was like, this is the guy that they need to lead this party,
And he's an attack dog couched.
I was tickled pink.
An attack dog couched in a civilized diplomatic shell that doesn't seem like he's going to fly off the handle, so it's going to be harder for them. He's not Trump. He's not a character. He's just a fucking politician with glasses and kind of a nerdy voice. Like, it's going to be a lot harder to go after than Trump. They'll do it. And liberals all over Canada will eat it up. They're just waiting to be told how this guy is a racist, white supremacist. Where was Allison? And I don't know. There was a comment. James Top. Yes, James Top is the guy who walked across Canada, right? Yeah. He did the march. So the attempted bikers convoy here in the summer. I went out for that. It was what you expect. The city was ready. The government was ready. They barely were a presence here. And there were like counter protesters out declaring them all racist before they had even shown up. It was hilarious. You go to our channel. That is the last time that we posted something on the channel before this. Was me going out once again, hoping to see some cool shit. But everybody's ready for this stuff, which further bolsters my belief that the Freedom Convoy was allowed to happen. All of the scenarios that were set up through all the kind of war games that they ran through the WEF and all these other organizations from 2000 until just a few months before the coronavirus. Every country was handed a set of contingencies and scenarios. One of the scenarios is like there's a popular mass uprising, and then countries that do have the legal possibilities for declaring martial law, they're given that scenario. So in Canada, needed a giant protest to happen, so they let the trucks. They watched them for a week and a half drive across Canada. They watched them roll into town. They closed some streets, but they let them all get off the highway. They let them all come into town. Now, a bunch of the truckers decided they were going to head to Toronto and create a convoy in Toronto. Toronto just said, fuck you. You're not coming in. Nothing happened. Like 5 trucks got into the downtown core of Toronto, and that was it. In Ottawa, they let them all in. And it was exactly for the pre-decided purpose that they could declare, use the Emergencies Act and try out stealing people's bank accounts and getting hackers to go in and find out who's funding this, who's doing this. And any of you guys that were with us at the streams at the time, we had our buddy, the other Jay, on with his wife. They found her because hackers got into the GoFundMe database and were calling everybody. They emailed her and threatened to dox her unless she made a statement. Like, what the fuck? So that was all planned, and so now next time in the future that there's some kind of popular uprising, it'll just be a snap of the fingers, because at least the apparent majority in Canada supported this 100%, thought it was the best thing ever. Yeah, Emergencies Act, put them all in jail, take their bank accounts, that'll show them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even if it wasn't planned from the get-go, they certainly got their ducks in a row quick and figured out how they could take advantage of it and spin it in their favor, right? So
yeah. Well, you look at things like what was it called, Dark Winter. This is 20 years ago. Scenarios where it says this stuff just right in the planning documents, and the individuals from the highest levels of cabinets of Western governments are sent to these war games, and it's right there in writing for them. Like scenario number 1, there's a popular uprising. What do you do? Oh, the government declares martial law. This creates more friction, but does solve the problem. Blah blah blah. Scenario number 2, everybody agrees to it. These things were all in writing, and they've been there for 20 years. They've done like dozens of these war games over the years. It's kind of a stretch to me even to think that they were being opportunist about it. Maybe the government's, I mean, they're only going to let these people in on the plan on a need-to-know basis, and Trudeau's so fucking stupid. He doesn't need to know shit. He just gets his marching orders.
Right. So I guess what I'm confused about, like, are you suggesting that the whole thing was orchestrated by the government to begin with, or was it a grassroots movement that just the government hijacked?
It's a grassroots movement, but it's a grassroots movement that was foreseen, because they knew that putting down the mandates in a pandemic time would create social friction. And there'll be a certain element that's going to eventually rise up because they've had enough. So it's just, they were just matching the scenario. Right. If you look at the Dark Winter stuff, it's an easy Google search. They had 4 scenarios, and then each of them, it's like a play. Like someone's taken this and written a script, like for each of these scenarios based on their data, how they think things will play out, depending on which scenario gets fulfilled. Is it really mass deaths? Then maybe it'll be this. Will it be popular uprisings? Then maybe this happens. So it's all stuff that's been thought about and thought out. Everybody go watch the other doc that I made on Canadian Patriot Press. Go watch that details how these guys are thinking about this decades in advance before we see the results. With the idea of targeting quote unquote conspiracy theorists is 35-year-old tech that they were rolling out in the 80s, in the early 90s. So these guys, someone like Trudeau, the guy's a fucking moron. You don't need to have him in the room with the guys with the cigars planning this shit out. Carl Schwab, who's also just a tool, just tells Trudeau, you're in scenario 4, enact the Emergencies Act. He does.
All right, interject for a sec. To Goofy Ruth there, yeah, exactly about that. I've looked into it because I'd love to have Phil on and his other buddy there. I forget his name at the moment, but that's the Atlantic Canadian site dude there with his channel, and his stuff's amazing. It's great. It's funny as fuck. But I've looked into it. I can't seem to find any way to contact either of them. So if you've got a link or an email or something that you could share.
If there's nothing in comments section.
Comment section, I guess. Yeah.
If there's nothing else.
Yeah, what was the name of that site again?
Red Pill
East
Bill
Coast
Brown.
Canadian
I'm
or
not
something?
familiar with this. Yeah, is that him? Is that him?
I think it's East Coast Canadian.
Yeah.
Where are you? Hold on.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, I think it's East Coast. Yeah, it's him. The East Coast Canadian guy isn't Phil Brown, but the guy that he gets on for their weekly Thursday conspiracy chat or whatever it is Phil Brown. I think.
Yeah.
Sure.
I've seen him.
All right. Yeah. Those guys would be great to get on and shoot the shit with. I think it'd be fun.
Oh, totally. And they're not very big either. Same subs as
Not a very
us.
big
So they might agree to come on.
Yeah.
Mark Turnell, Marxist playbook. Go ahead.
Yeah, I couldn't find any kind of way to get a hold of them. So yeah,
it is tricky. I've been kind of reaching out to other streamers from the Freedom Convoy. It's difficult sometimes to find people. I mean, it's mostly just people just doing shit. So I mean, a lot of people don't have that whole thing like, oh yeah, okay, so I'm going to be a YouTuber. Got to make sure I have a website, email, all this stuff. I mean, we went through it starting this channel. It's like a slow burn for a while, but if you get any attention on you quickly realize, oh shit, I need a website, I gotta have email, I need to watch that email, I need to have streaming services, I need to be set up on Rumble. All of these things have payments associated with them, so not surprising that some people are just kind of winging it.
Yeah, I'm just on their page here now. Yeah, they've got almost the identical subs that we have, so they're about the same size.
Yeah, same numbers, which is surprising. They're entertaining. They're a funny channel. They kind of live stream and react to stuff, and totally
the dude
politically aligned with us. It's excellent stuff.
Yeah, the main dude there makes his own little skits and stuff that he does, and they're funny.
Allison's got to go. Good night, Allison. We love you. So great you showed up. Two separate guys. Yeah, we got it. Okay, Goofy. So, yeah, all right. Well, we got to reach out to those guys. I've thought of that too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good question, Goofy. We'll have to check. Hit up Viva. Yeah, good old Viva. Viva's in the next level, though. He's in the Canadian stratosphere.
I read in the comments somebody said he moved to Florida.
That's what Allison said, yeah.
Is that confirmed?
Goofy. Yeah, we're massive overlap. So Rain and I did this channel for like a year to like 5 subs, the usual. And it was running into Viva. Like I'm sitting there with my phone trying to figure out where Viva's at, watching his stream, recognizing buildings in Ottawa and hunting him down and love you too, Allison, and would find him when he was out, and that's how we like had a good talk with Viva and walked with him for a while. He had questions since I was an Ottawa resident. He had questions about. He's a lawyer, so he's always like, "Oh, is it true that there are residences around here, around the downtown core?" Or he's like building up his case. Anyway, so he gave us a shout out on the channel, and within 6 hours, we had 1,500 subscribers, going from 15 to 1,500 in an hour just by making that appearance on his channel. So we will always owe Viva our entire existence, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Goofy. They moved Rumble admin stuff to Florida, and he was doing some work for them, I think, and he went there also for freedom as well. Yeah, well, no kidding. Florida is. I'd go Texas because I've been to Florida in the mid-late summer, and Ottawa is bad enough. Ottawa is. People don't know this. Ottawa is a swamp. The biggest problem they had building Ottawa was malaria. So it's a 90% humidity. 90 degrees in the summer. Canada gets its reputation as being cold, but Ottawa sucks in the summer. Florida is 28% worse, plus hurricanes. So I'd rather go to Texas. Texas seems to me like the dream right now. Like, yeah, like if the shit hits the fan, good luck getting rid of Texas. They're going to have to drop a nuke on Texas to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Florida too, obviously, but Florida has lots of huge metropolitan areas that are ultra liberal, and they're actually, it threatens them.
Yeah.
DC. Yeah, funny how Ottawa and DC are built on swamps, and I've lived in both cities. So I'm like the swamp creature. Wonder if Stockholm was built on a swamp. I lived in Stockholm too. I'm a capital city guy because I was a diplomatic brat. Tastes good. West Virginia, New Hampshire. New Hampshire's bizarre. Yeah, New Hampshire. Isn't New Hampshire like open carry or something? And like you think of New Hampshire as like the elite of liberal American oligarchy, but it's strangely libertarian there as well. But I don't know. Texas kind of got it all. Dry air, lots of space. Like Texas is mostly empty. Excellent weather, and just people that are just like, remember the Alamo. Like, don't even look at me wrong. Yeah, Vermont as well. Vermont, Bernie Sanders, right? Like, yeah, it's strange. Very small, concentrated states where they seem liberal up front, but they're also don't fuck with me. Like they really just want to be states. Tennessee is good, but waning. Tennessee, especially through Nashville, is really, it seems like it's falling. We had that channel that reacted to our video, and they left Tennessee. They went running from Tennessee to Texas. New Hampshire is the Free State Project, trying to stack population of liberty-minded people. Yeah, well, I guess maybe it's the legacy of the entire country kind of being born out of Philadelphia, New Hampshire, Vermont, Rhode Island, all these like zones of independence, of liberty, that I guess they still hold on to that. It's surprising. You'd think it would all be kind of south of Mason-Dixon line, but that top northern edge of America is feisty bunch of people. Constitutional carry. Cool. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to walk around with a gun on my hip. Yeah. Tennessee's looking bad. It's looking rough there. They might lose out.
Yeah, I was just talking to another friend of mine up here there yesterday, and he's got a couple of his buddies that were up from the States, one from Texas, and what was the other one? Tennessee? I think it was Tennessee. They were saying the weirdest thing about being in Canada is that they can't walk around with their guns on their hips.
That's the weirdest thing about Canada? Wow.
Well, to them, it is they come
yeah.
up, can't carry their guns with them, their pistols with them, right? So
we can't
wear them everywhere they go.
We can't open carry, and y'all say croissant bunny.
Yeah. Oh, crazy.
Yeah. So it's it's just like the end of the video we just watched. Like, can't let the American experiment fail. It's it's the first time country's ever been established and allowed to run on principles of freedom, and everyone in the world wishes that they had the American Constitution.
Yeah.
And we're at real risk of losing it. Like America is just going to be fooled into dropping the whole fucking thing. Basically, mostly because of the media there.
Yep.
So, let's see here. Strategic Relocation by Joel Skewson. Getting that Google search up now. Strategic Relocation by Joel Skewson. It's on Amazon. Excellent. All right, cool. North American Guide to Safe Places, 4th edition. Oh, God, UK. Like, the police will show up at your doorstep for Twitter posts in the UK. There are people in jail right now for posting on Twitter in the United Kingdom.
Really?
But, yeah. But this is precisely my point, precisely because the United Kingdom does not have a constitution, at least not one like the American, and nor do we. There's absolute freedom of speech doesn't exist at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we've gone on long enough.
Yeah. Good vlog.
Excellent vlog. So I think this is a really good format, and we've got 8 other videos, and I'm working on the 9th right now, which is called The Origins of America's Secret Police. And it shows a long, unbroken history of secret societies leading to the modern FBI, CIA, and the other Five Eyes organizations. So that's the next one.
Well, that'll be interesting.
Oh, yeah. So, but we can watch many of the other ones and have these little sessions moving forward. So we're back on track, people.
We're back.
Yeah, Goofy. Good to see you back, too. We're going to put out more content as the weeks evolve. And, yeah, stick with us. All right. Good talking to y'all.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.